Come along, children. Now we're going to have a little music.
What is up, guys? I'm Andres.
I'm Sabrina.
And this is our review for Big Time Adolescence, a new Hulu movie. And by new, I mean it came out a little bit ago, but it's been recommended quite a bit, especially by Sabrina. So I'm super interested to hear, what do you think about this movie and why you've been recommending it so much?
I always love a good coming of age movie. I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. And this one I think is a little bit different from what we've seen before. I think it kind of taps into like a bromance brotherhood in a very, very sweet and genuine way. I think something like Superbad did that, but they didn't even tap into all of the like sweetness of it until the end. But we get it right away with these two boys, with Pete Davidson's character and the main character. I really love the kind of bromance they like portray on screen. I think it's wholesome and genuine and sweet. And Pete Davidson is so good in this movie. And I know he's playing Pete Davidson. Like, I know it's just Pete Davidson, but it's really cool to get that kind of glimpse of him right now because he does have a Judd Apatow movie coming up, I believe next year, called King of Staten Island. So I'm really looking forward to what he has to do because I think he wrote that one based off like his life in Staten Island and growing up. So I think we're going to get a lot more of what we've seen here in Big Time Adolescence for him. So I really enjoyed it. I had a really good time. I think it was so sweet.
Yeah, this is definitely a Pete Davidson movie, and you can definitely say he plays himself quite a bit.
Yeah.
I saw your tweet when you said Pete Davidson for Oscar, and I was like, really? For playing himself?
I was like, he doesn't have any other competition this year anyways, so just give it to him.
True. It's him and Ben Affleck. They can fight it out.
Yeah.
But either way, yeah, I was genuinely surprised. This is a really fun movie with actually an interesting kind of theme and message, even though it's like a coming of age thing. I really like the conclusion of this movie and how it ended out. But essentially the plot is that this kid became really good friends with his sister's boyfriend when he was really young. And when he grew up, they just stayed friends, which is kind of creepy, but the movie really acknowledges it, which is kind of funny. So even after the sister broke up with the boyfriend, they stayed friends forever because he really kind of looked up to him and it was his big brother figure. But it ends up being kind of a bad example of a future person. And he kind of neglects his high school friends and his high school days in favor of this kind of out of luck 20-something guy who just is happy to live in a couch and hang out with friends and do nothing all day, which is kind of a cool premise. What'd you think of that premise?
I really, really liked it. I love the fact that they kind of had this budding relationship that we see right in the beginning with like a younger Pete Davidson and a younger main character. And yeah, I think he was like 9 and Pete Davidson was like 15 or something like that. And then they just like stayed friends throughout the years. And they do that really cool sequence showing the passage of time. So I really, really love that from the beginning. I think it sets up their bromance perfectly because it is like a brother, like an older brother, little brother type of relationship because there is genuine love there. There's a lot of heart between the two of them. But yeah, again, like sometimes the people in your life aren't the best influence no matter how much you love them. And so I think it's a really sweet way of showing that to focus on things that are important in your life going a certain direction. Yeah, because he misses out on a lot of high school experiences by being friends with this guy, but he loves him.
Yeah, and you, like you said, there is a lot of love, but eventually throughout the movie, the audience becomes aware that Pete Davidson's character is kind of using Mo, I think is his name. No. And it starts to become this weird relationship of like, wait a minute, this guy's using you. He's friends with you and he's cool with you, but he's kind of using you and you're letting him get away with that. You know, you should stand up for yourself and kind of move on from this relationship. What do you think of that? The two personalities kind of dueling at each other and Mo eventually coming to fruition and becoming himself?
I think it's really sweet. I don't necessarily, Pete Davidson's character was using him. Zeke was using Mo a little bit. But since there was genuine love there, I think Pete Davidson's character, Zeke, is kind of like almost like a low-key sociopath. He just kind of doesn't think about anything. He doesn't really care about anyone except for kind of seems like Mo's older sister that he still kind of has some attachment to, but who knows if that's an actual attachment to her or an actual attachment to like his youth and his time in high school and having that like high school sweetheart. So I really, really like that because a lot of the times we're seeing sides of Zeke that are genuine and are heartfelt, but at the same time, we're also seeing, oh, look, there's literally his ex-girlfriend is like walking away from him and he's like, no, come back. And then she walks away and then he's like, all right, just eating my cereal still or something like that. So I did really like all of those elements in it. And then it shows that sometimes even if you're attached to somebody, they might not always have the best intentions for you, no matter how long you've known them.
Yeah, I think for me, the scene was when he was pressuring him quite a bit, where he's like, dude, I don't
Yeah.
want to do that. I'm not going to do that. And he's like, oh, no, just do it. Just do it. Just do it. And it felt like, all right, this guy's kind of not a
Yeah.
nice guy. Like he was kind of using a 16-year-old for his advantage. And he's like 23 in the movie,
Yeah.
which was a big no-no. But either way, you know what I was most impressed with in this movie? And I'm sorry, but it wasn't Pete Davidson, even though you're right. He was actually really funny throughout the movie. It's the direction of the movie. This is a first-time director. I believe the guy's name is David Orley.
Jason Orley.
Youth feature. This is pretty impressive, right? Orley, I'm sorry. Yeah, Jason
Yeah, as a first
Orley.
feature, I think it's
What
really
do you think
impressive
as
because
a
he
first
wrote.
feature?
I believe he wrote and directed this. So it is really impressive because he's saying all of these things that we could take out of this movie, something like a simple coming of age story in such a subtle way. And we're entertained. It's so funny and it's so like sweet that we're not even thinking about all of the things that we're kind of like absorbing from the movie. And I love that you can just really enjoy it and have a good time. I was really impressed by what he did.
All right, so this movie is a comedy, Sabrina. I want to hear some of your favorite moments, favorite lines, favorite laughs, because there's a lot, and I know you have some. So I want to go straight away. Any kind of comedic moment you want to give a shout out to?
This is another standout for me was Machine Gun Kelly in this movie, the blonde-haired friend. He is so funny. And we saw him in The Dirt, and Pete Davidson was actually also in The Dirt, and they're real life best friends. But he was hilarious in this movie playing like this almost 30-year-old that was just absolutely going nowhere in life. But the line where he's like, dude, you're acting really silly right now. That girl's like 16 years old. And then Mo's like, I'm 16 years old. That was my favorite part of the entire movie. So good. What's your favorite?
That is definitely that was going to be one of mine for sure, because as soon as it hit me, I was like, wait a minute, is that a guy who looks like Machine Gun Kelly, or is that Machine Gun Kelly?
Machine Gun Kelly.
But he's been in a couple movies before. He was in that Netflix Sandra Bullock movie.
Oh, Bird Box. He was in that. I forgot.
Yeah, for a hot minute, and I thought that was such a funny line. Like, oh my god, that is so funny. And he's like, all right. This is really eye-opening right now. You know, I just found out Mo is 16. This is different, you know?
Yeah. He's like, I'm pushing 30 and I don't even have a car.
I thought that was great. I thought everything with Mo trying to shoot a shot with his homegirl, Rosie.
Yeah.
I thought that was so freaking funny. The idea of him like just taking her to that party. And she's like, this is really weird and borderline creepy, but let's dance. I thought that was hysterical.
It is funny. It was something that's so normal from him. This is like his like daily life, just hanging out with these guys. But somebody who's actually his age is like, this is actually a really weird situation, but okay.
Yeah, and the fact that that's the idea that he has of fun, and the fact that he's listening to that influence, I thought was hysterical. Every party scene was so funny.
Yeah,
everything with her was great. You know who I really liked, and I've never seen that kid before, is the little kid who wants to be cool, the friend.
Yeah, let me find his name. He was really great.
Yeah, I forget his name, but he was like, dude, please, man, I'm just trying to be cool, man. Like his whole vibe was just so freaking funny.
Also, Sydney. His name is Thomas Barbuska.
There you go.
Yeah,
there you go. Really great name. Probably my favorite. It has to be the opening scene when he's saying I could be an actor.
Yeah.
And he's like, tell me my dog died, and he starts crying or whatever. And when he cuts to the girlfriend, he's like, your turn, and then it cuts to them breaking up.
Yeah.
And she starts really crying, and I was like, "Oh my god, that is great! That's really well done editing, just comedic timing, and really
Yeah.
well directed." I was like, "That's a really well directed comedy scene," and it showed me that I was kind of in for a funny ride, and I was in for a really well directed movie. So again, shout out to Jason Orley for delivering something really fun.
Yeah, that's the thing about the comedic like timing is so organic where it's really funny, but it's also kind of naturally funny. It's not this like zany slapstick type of thing. It's really like it's just like a normal, it's the stuff you experience when you're in high school. Everybody's ridiculous. People say stuff that is unreal, like Thomas Barbuska's character. The stuff he just says and the way he acts and his like facial expressions and everything, so subtly funny. And I love it because it's real. It's what we all experience. So it's so good.
Last one for me
Yeah.
has to be the cop party, and then the cops show up.
Yeah.
Just the ironic moment of like the cops being like, "Hey, put that drink down," and he's like, "And then pick it up, right, man?" And he's like, "Man, these guys, who invited the parents? These guys are kind of old." And I was like, "It's the
Yeah.
real cops." That was
Yeah.
so freaking funny. So yeah, I highly recommend this movie. But I want to give you the last word. Any last word on Big Time Adolescence?
Yeah, I think it's just a beautiful movie for people of all ages to enjoy, which is something that a coming of age story, that's when you know it's really great, is that people of all ages, whether you are a teenager, whether you are in your 20s, even older, you can reminisce on all that kind of stuff, figure out like see moments that parallel to your life and it's like, oh, I made a mistake like that before. Like we've all been high in front of our grandparents. And and it's just genuinely sweet and heartfelt. And as we said, like the comedic timing is really, really great. The direction is great. I'm excited to see what Jason Orley has to do next, whether it's another film like this, kind of like a small, cute little coming of age story or something bigger. I think he has a really, he clearly shows he has a knack for direction and for timing and pacing and everything like that. So
That's spot on. Absolutely. Either way, guys, that is our review for Big Time Adolescence. Be sure to check it out. It's on Hulu right now. So if you have Hulu, you can watch it right now. If you don't have Hulu, get Hulu. They have great stuff. I've been recommending it for quite a while. So either way, guys, I say check it out. Sabrina says check it out. And make sure you check us out on First Cut. You can subscribe here right now. Do it because that's the best way to communicate love to us. And also make sure to follow us individually. I'm at Squad Leader Ace.
I'm at Sabrina X Monica.
And First Cut TMO on all social media accounts as well. Either way, guys, for the First Cut crew, I'm Andres.
I'm Sabrina.
And we're peacing out, guys. Peace out.
You permanently inked Tongue Daddy to your skin. What does that even mean?
Oh my God.